Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the NCTIES Fall Virtual Conference. And you are in the session for Building AI Literacy in Secondary Students. And I'm so excited that you guys are here and you're going to spend the next 45 minutes learning about AI literacy. It's been something that I have been really passionate about for about the last, I guess it's going to be 2 years, right? Since ChatGPT kind of landed on the scene and everybody's been talking about it. But really, I think one of the things that got me super just focused on AI literacy, especially for our secondary students, are some things that I heard from our kids when we had the AI panels, the student panels at the AI summits that North Carolina held last spring. So we're going to jump right in here. The link is on the screen here. It is go.ncdpi.gov/. 49EGX, and that's all lowercase. So please get that link. It's going to be interactive. We have some things to click on and a ton of resources in the slide deck, especially at the end. And it is a Canvas slide deck, and I know that one of the downsides is it doesn't live in your Google Drive, but there is a link at the end for you to make a copy and put it in your Canva account. So you'll have all of the slides and you can use them, make copies, anything that you find useful. You'll definitely have a copy of it and is open source or Creative Commons license, so you can use anything that you need. So we are going to go ahead and dive right in. So this is definitely connected to our digital learning competencies for education, for educators and education leaders. So I wanted to make sure I showed you the connections there, and this is your description. So let's go ahead. For those of you who I have not met before, my name is Stacy Lovedahl, and I am the Western consultant for digital teaching and learning for NCDPI, and that's my contact information there. And the agenda today is I want to talk a little bit about, just why I feel this sort of urgency for AI literacy, and if we could wave a magic wand in DPI especially, but and just teach AI literacy to all of our secondary students this year, by the end of the year. That would just be, my wish for everybody, and especially to just embed it in all of our content. Not make it kind of siloed over in some special class or whatever. That would be ideal. And so we're going to spend a couple of minutes on that, and then talk about kind of the lessons learned for how we have used technology in the past and try to kind of learn from that and apply that forward. And then just really, look at some practical resources that you can use right now. You don't have to just invent things. There are a lot of things that are available that we can, just take and you just take right off the shelf, or just modify a little bit and use. But before we dive in, we've got two ways to share. So if you can definitely use the chat if that is easiest for you. So that's available, but I also have a Padlet because I'm obsessed with Padlet. If you have not been in a Padlet lately, they have really stepped up their game. I mean, there's just a ton to Padlet. So you can click on this link, or if you want to also use your phone, you can scan the QR code. So I'm going to open that up so you can see what's in here. This is our secondary AI literacy Padlet. So the first one is introduce yourself. And if you would, in addition to just saying who you are and what you teach, right? If you are using AI with your students, right? Just make a note of that. Or, how are you teaching with AI? Are you using it for lesson planning, making rubrics, so on the teacher side? Or if you're actually using with your students, like if you're an ELA teacher, or if you are, somebody who supports teachers, and talking to kids about when it is appropriate to use AI and when it is not appropriate. So if you talk to kids about that, you just make a note either in the chat, if that's easiest, or over here in this Padlet, and just take a quick sec to, drop a note in there about how you're currently talking to kids about AI in your educational role. So I'm going to leave that open for you guys to add to the Padlet, and we'll check back in. And because I know sometimes it takes a minute or two to kind of formulate your thoughts and then let it get up there to to get added to the chat. But I'd really love to hear from you about how you're using AI and kind of what's going on in your classes and also just who's in the room. It's always interesting to see. Okay, so I'm going to let that be there and just zoom right on because 45 minutes goes by really fast. So the first thing I want to share with you is a little bit about our AI summits that we had on the eastern side of the state and the western side of the state last spring. So the first student I want to let you meet is Savannah, and she was on our AI student panel. And the interviewer, the moderator of the panel was amazing. And one of the things that she asked the students was to just go down the line and talk about, what their experience was with AI in the classroom. Now, this is last year, right? So, second semester, these kids were graduating, and Savannah is now, she's in college. So, at this time, she had already, written her, gotten, was, on her way to getting into school or being, graduating from school. But she said that her first experience with AI was not through school. And because her teachers were telling her that she was not allowed to use chat, that's what she called it, chat. In fact, she didn't even really know what it was supposed to be called. And she thought that it was called Chat GDP. So that's what she thought it was. So here, we have been going around talking about AI and talking about Magic School and School AI and all of these different AI tools. And here, this senior in high school who's about to graduate is not, in fact, not using it and doesn't even know what it's called. So that's one piece of information. The next student I'd like you to meet, who was also on our AI panel, and he was on the panel in the eastern part of the state, and his name is Bo. Bo, at the time, was a sophomore in eastern North Carolina, and he also has his own business for metal fabrication and welding. And the quote that stood out to me from one of the things that he said was that he believed that we need to focus on the ethics of AI in the future, and that the AI tools now are going to change just like social media tools have been changing, and that even though it can be used for a lot of positive things, that in the wrong hands it can be dangerous. And so here is this person who is a sophomore in high school at the time, looking ahead based on his experience and realizing that it can be really good, but we should realize that in the wrong hands, it can also be a problem. So what I'd like you guys to just take a second, and if you would, back in that Padlet, think about your students and their experiences now. We've had the whole summer go by. We're all the way to the middle of October, which I can't even believe, and of this school year. And which of their stories kind of resonates with you? Do you have kids like Savannah's story who are being told they can't use AI at all, and they might not even really know what it's called? Do you have kids like Bo who are thinking about the ethics and whether it's good or bad? And if they were put up on an AI panel, what story would they tell? So if you would go back over to that Padlet, and in that second column, is it Bo? Is it Savannah? What story would your students tell? And also, in the meantime, let's take a look at. I appreciate you guys doing your introductions too. That's awesome. I think this comment is Doesn't surprise me. I think especially this school year, I feel like last year, this semester, AI was just starting to get going as far as our students' knowledge. Second semester last year, it started to ramp up. And it doesn't surprise me that this year, students' knowledge is starting to be, even more present, right? It's just being something that is gradually ramping up. Okay, so we'll come back to that. We'll check in on that Padlet and your comments and everything. So I'm going to go to our next little tidbits, couple more tidbits of information here. Um, so one of the things we've been talking about in DPI and the Digital Teaching and Learning Division, as far as just AI information and the AI guidance, is what its effect is in the workforce and where we see things going. So this report was published in May of 2024 from Microsoft, and just where we see the workforce going. And these statistics were eye-opening. And 75% of global knowledge workers use AI. So similarly, right, we're seeing this be ever present in the workforce. But I think the statistic that surprised me the most is this one right here, that 71% of hiring managers prioritize AI skills over experience. So if you're like me, investing so much of your time in your career gaining experience, and here they're saying that AI skills are have a higher desirability over even experience. And so if we're looking at our students and saying they need this AI knowledge to um, to take with them into their future post-secondary education, whether it's going to college, going into the workforce, going into whatever they're going to do after they graduate. So again, my urgency towards AI literacy for our secondary students, just ramps up even more. That is similar to something we've been sharing for a long time. So this is just an update to this slide, which was April of 2023, where 9 in 10 employers want employees who have some kind of background knowledge in how to use AI. So in our North Carolina guidance, we have this link right here, which will take you directly to the North Carolina guidelines. And it's a great document, a lot of policy and information in there, but also a lot of practical tools. So we'll be looking into that a little bit too. AI literacy just refers to the knowledge and skills and attitudes associated with how AI works. And so we can implement that right into the classroom, partly on the teacher side of just, how it can help us do our jobs, but then also how can it help students be prepared for the world they're going to be living in. But to that side of like kind of taking our experience with how we've rolled digital tools out to our students in the previous 10, say 15 years, and in taking that information and that experience and letting that inform us about how we should do this next big change a little bit with a little bit more information, is we know that just giving kids access to digital tools without any guardrails and without any guidance is not the best idea, because we know that it has an effect on academic performance and mental health and physical health and their social interaction. So how can we do this that takes all of our knowledge and experience into effect? So we know we have the digital access divide, that we have digital use divides, and that this digital design divide is something that the National Ed Tech Plan has talked a lot about, where we give teachers time to work together to design lessons and units that adequately are designed to help students integrate AI and digital tools in general in an effective way. So, with all of that background put together, where are these resources that are going to help us do this so we don't have to start completely from scratch? So, we have two places that we can look. One of them is in the North Carolina guidance. And so, over here, I've got a link straight to the guidelines where we've listed resources for secondary by grade span. So, elementary, middle school, and high school. So, that link is right here. But I wanted to focus over here on this second resource, which is a Wakelet. And the Wakelet has everything that's in the AI guidelines, but then it also has some other resources that kind of expand that out, that give you some bite-sized things that maybe you could do during a homeroom period. They're not complete units, but they're also K-12 appropriate. So I wanted to give you two different places that you could go to get resources. So let's go over to this one. So if you are on in the slide deck, slide 14, and then click on this link right here, this graphic. And it's going to open you up to this Wakelet. And if you scroll down, you're going to see a bunch of things. The first one right here at the top, it says NCAI Collaborative Deliverables Spring 2024. The group of teachers and educators all across the state got together and created products based on whatever teaching role that they were in their buildings related to teaching AI literacy, and work together and put them into this database. So if you click on that, you'll be able to search by audience, who created it, and what format the product is in. So if I wanted to find something that was, you can unclick the boxes depending on what you're looking for. So there's probably a way to deselect these a little bit more easily. So there's a box there at the top. So if I wanted something that was just aimed towards teachers, and I wanted something that was just a teacher resource, it would filter those out and I could see these things. So suppose I wanted to look at that, you'd open that up and it would give you this document. All of them are resources that you can add to your Google Drive. You can download them, you can remix them, use them in any way that you want to. So that's in this, that's the first resources in this Wakelet. The next ones are individual units that are made by different organizations related to AI literacy. The first one I wanted to point out to you is from a organization called AI for Education. And we're going to be, I'm going to go into that in a lot of detail in just a second. So I'm going to point that one out to you. And
Casey,
then,
there's a comment that says the Wakelet is blocked.
are you in Wake County by any chance, Arlene?
Arlene and Lucy, are you Wake County employees?
Okay. If I can send, I'll paste at the end a different link so that you can get to the Wakelet a different way. I can give it to you in a clickable PDF. So let me, I will add that to the end of the document so that you can get to that in a different way. Okay. Sometimes it gets blocked by different districts who don't allow access to Wakelets. Okay, sorry about that. But in the meantime, I'll scroll through it so you can see all the different websites that are on it, and then you'll be able to see what's in the PDF. Another one is AI EDU, which has another unit in their website that has a bunch of downloadable resources. And so we're going to go through, we aren't going to go through all of these today in this 45 minutes, but I wanted to show you all of the different resources that are in this Wakelet. And then towards the bottom, there are a bunch of little resources that are really good for warm-ups and homeroom activities that are fun, but also really good for teaching prompting and different things like that. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation. One of them that I did with high school students was based on, to teach them an introduction to AI literacy, is based on a lesson from Common Sense Education. And it started off with a teacher who had students who were using ChatGPT to turn in a lot of their writing. She was very frustrated with that and wanted to talk to them about AI literacy. So I came and worked with her to design this lesson. It started off with a quick little introduction for just getting their opinions on AI in education, and using this activity where they did 2 or 3 adjectives and on their thoughts on AI for education. And then we jumped into a Padlet where they use their note card to um, decide to turn their adjectives about AI for education, and used the Padlet to transform it into a picture. So I would like to show you, if you're not familiar with using AI in Padlet, how that works. So they would go over to um, create a note, and I showed them how to go over to this extra little area over here in Padlet where you can find the I can't draw feature in Padlet. And they typed their adjectives that they had um, put on their note card into this little box in Padlet and turned it into a prompt. So we talked about prompting, and then they used that to generate an image. So that was the introduction activity. And after they did that, they watched this short video that explained AI in about 2 or 3 minutes, and had a short discussion about artificial intelligence and based on this short little overview. And then for the first two classes, I did this short little introduction to what is AI. And after watching that with me, the teacher took over for the second two classes and did this introduction. So this is some basic AI literacy and just background information on what is generative AI. And after that, the kids played this game from code.org. It is designed for younger kids. And even though these were high school students, I had them play this from code.org Oceans. And it's designed to show how machine learning works. So they played it for a couple of minutes just to see how that worked. And the whole entire section of this Common Sense Education Media Literacy or AI Literacy unit is designed to do is to give them basic information about AI, and eventually get them to decide whether or not they believe that AI is a good idea for education, or a good idea for society, or a bad idea. So it's designed to get them to take a stand. So at the beginning of the unit, it was their thoughts on AI in general, and a little bit of a fun activity of designing an AI image in Padlet and seeing how that went. A little bit of background knowledge on what is AI from Common Sense Education. And then they eventually, in this one class period, had to take a stand to decide whether or not AI would be harmful to society or not harmful. So they talked about that in their groups and decided which side they were on, and they created posters. Once they created their posters, I had them do this activity where they switched sides and took markers. And I don't know if it's an official protocol, but I decided that it was a protocol called Yeah But. So they went to each other's posters and they basically made short rebuttals to each other's points on their posters. So wherever they had an opposite point of view, they tried to explain what their counterpoint would be to it. And what was really cool about this protocol was that they were incredibly respectful of each other's points of view. And it gave them a chance to, as a group, stand there and read each other's posters and then discuss why they thought they had an opposite idea of what their classmates had decided on their posters. And then they switched back, they read each other's comments, and then they had a group discussion. So by the end of that one class period, they had come to a conclusion about whether they thought it was harmful or helpful. They had read each other's points of view, and then they had a group discussion that the teacher led about what the harmful problems could be with AI in society and what some of the benefits could be. It brought up a lot of really good points about whether or not AI was going to take over for society and that nobody would ever think anymore, and as opposed to the benefits where it could solve a lot of problems for society. So they had this whole entire, complete discussion about whether or not a lot of the same points that we worry about as educators. Okay. Before I go on to the next one, we have, does anybody have any questions about that before I move on to the next one? So the next idea that we had was this graphic, which is in the AI, the North Carolina AI guidelines, and is designed for just kind of posting around. You can post it in your classroom. We've used it in slide presentations, things like that. But one of the activities that we talked about doing as a follow-up in this class was a design challenge to take this poster and redesign it for a more student-friendly version, kind of like you do with a bookmark challenge sometimes in libraries and media centers. And so it would be to redesign the every graphic, keep the words the same, right? And keep the overall intention the same, but make it more creative, make it more student friendly, and then have a contest to see whose posters would win. There are several other activities or lessons on the Common Sense Education website. They're linked right here. I started off with what is AI for her classroom last year, and we had talked about whether or not she would do an entire unit based on the other 8 lessons are on there and which ones they would emphasize, whether all of them would be an entire class period or whether she would pick and choose and do the entire unit. Okay, the next example is from AI for Education. That's also in this Wakelet, or in the Wakelet, but I wanted to pull out the unit and go over it in a little bit more detail. It's designed to be 4 lessons. They're all about 90 minutes long, so you could probably get them done just depending on how much time you spent on each one. And their ultimate goal was to get the kids to design, to co-create a AI policy for their district. And the way AI for Education set this up was they decided that in order to create a AI policy for a district, kids would have to understand AI well enough to be able to do that. And in order to understand AI, you had to understand how it works and the fact that it hallucinates, that it's not always correct. And in order to understand why AI hallucinates, you had to understand how machine learning works. And in order to understand how machine learning works, you needed to start off with experiencing chatbots firsthand, to have firsthand experience with it. So you can see this sort of backwards design mentality that they used in order to create this unit. So the ultimate goal was to create policy, but you had to start off with firsthand experience with a chatbot. So the first lesson starts off with interviewing a chatbot. They've got a complete lesson plan in here. So if we click on slide 44, and you open this up, this actually takes you over to their website, and their website has a complete curriculum resources in here. Every single one of them takes you over to how long the lesson takes. You've got downloadable lesson plans for each grade span. If you're middle school or high school, everything's completely self-contained inside the lessons. So if I click on the middle school version, for example, it would look like this. So you've got the um, lessons right here. If you actually want to use ChatGPT, then you would get parent permission to do that. But when they were creating that, they weren't thinking about using something like Magic School or School AI, which would be an educational AI. What we would probably do is not worry about using an external AI. We would probably use ChatGPT or something like that. And then they've got all the resources prepared so that you can make a copy of the student packets and all of the information that your students would need. And just if you wanted to customize them and print the and change them for the way you would want to do them, you can. But everything is completely created for you. For the Mind of the Machine, for this one, Celebrity Heads Together is a case where you actually play a game with your AI. So it's very hands-on and experience-oriented. This one lets the students learn how AIs hallucinates. You play a hallucination detective game, and you can either do this with either ChatGPT, or you could use School AI and have it do the hallucinations for you. And then you have then you end up actually writing your policy. The last example I want to share with you is resources to help kids practice prompting skills. And these are really bite-sized things that you can do in any classroom. You could do it as a warm-up. You could do it during a homeroom period. There are a lot of really fun things to do. So they're all contained in this Wakelet, which I'll also print out or add a link for the clickable PDF, so you don't have to worry about it getting blocked. And the first one is a website called Say What You See. So if you click on slide 49 and try this example, it will take you over, and we can pop this in the chat too. So this will take you over to a Google Arts and Culture site called Say What You See. And if you click on Launch Experiment, and then start level 1, and then let's begin. So the way this works, and the reason I think that it is just a great way to help people learn some prompting skills, is you've got this picture over here of this box with some color in it. And then you have this empty box over here that says type your caption, and these instructions. Say what you see, you're on level 1. And the goal is to level up, right? So it's a little bit gamified, and you need to get it right 3 times, and you have 120 characters, and it's a goal to get your AI to be as close as possible to what's in that box. So if you are playing along, your goal would be to, and I've done this before, so we can see whether or not I've learned from experience, but your goal would be to try to get it to recreate with your prompt as close as possible to the picture that's in the box. So if you're playing along with me, you can type in the chat to let us know how close you get, and it'll give you a score. So I'm going to go with that. So once you type some words, it'll think for a minute. And this little brain over here. Oh, it says my caption type highlights are policies. Lillian, you are very fast. You're clearly experienced. Okay, so I got an 84. So there you go. So you do this 3 times, and then you can make it to level 2. And, and so the better you are at getting it to recreate your picture, then you get 3 checks and you make it to level 2, and then you can continue, and so it goes. So that's the first one, and you can see the more you're constrained by the number of characters that you get a certain you have to be fairly detailed, you have to be concise, and you have to be very observant. Okay. Let me click back here. The next one, if you click on the Twin Peaks picture, has anybody done Twin Peaks? I adore Twin Peaks. So, say what you see, and you can continue, right? And you go to level 1, you go to level 2, so that one can kind of, the kids can keep going until you run out of levels, right? Twin Peaks, you just get one a day, and that's it. So you have to come back the next day. The cool thing about Twin Peaks, though, is that the pictures are always amazing, and so you get one picture per day. You have 100 characters, so you're constrained by having to be very concise, and it's the same idea. You type in something to try to get it to recreate the picture. And so once you do that, it'll give you a score. So I'm going to say, okay, so this is going to be fairly terrible. Okay, so too many people are trying. All of NCTIES is trying right now. So if too many people are trying right now, we'll just like keep on doing this. But I want to tell you, once you click enter and not so many people are trying and you get a score, it'll tell you a score. So you'll actually get a percentage. It'll recreate your picture and show you your picture compared to the existing picture, but then it'll also click share. It'll also give you a share button. Don't be afraid to click share because your information doesn't go anywhere because you haven't typed any information in. When you hit the share button, it'll show you behind the scenes all of the information that went into creating the picture. And what I love about that is that if you're interested in graphic design with AI, it'll tell you all of the details behind how this image has been created and all of the language behind the AI that went into designing that image. But it won't share your picture, so don't worry about hitting that share button or having because your information doesn't go anywhere. So I just wanted to make sure to mention that since we can't show it since too many people are using the site. So there are a bunch of other sites like that behind the scenes in that Wakelet where it's just really quick little activities for practicing prompting. You can see it also gets kids to be very detail oriented, to use really high level words and to be very concise. Another thing I wanted to share with you really quickly before we run out of time here is this traffic light student AI integration 0 to infinity continuum. It is in the AI guidance, and if you click on it, you can also get a copy and put it in your Canva account and redesign it if you want to as well. And so this is just a good way to start kind of the conversation in your classroom about when AI is acceptable and how much AI usage is acceptable, and just start bringing the conversation out into the open with students instead of kind of, having kids sneaking it in and just flinging their words into a Google Doc and pretending like they use the word delve and have perfect grammar and punctuation all the time. Start bringing it out into the open and saying, you know what, I need it to just be your voice, your words, your work. This time we're on a level 0, or this time on this assignment, this is a level 1, and level 1 work looks like this. So if you click on this link, it'll take you over to your Canva account, and it'll put a copy in there, and you can, make a copy and work with that. And there are also some other versions in here that you can experiment with and see, and see different types. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this conversation, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask any questions before we wrap it up here. But I always have this call to action at the end of any of my presentations because I feel like we are just, especially, I mean, it is, going on 8 o'clock at night, and you guys are hanging out after a long day talking about AI and education and using it with your students. And so, I mean, you are a subset of the population here, I just have to say. And this is a graphic from Dan Fitzpatrick and his book that he wrote about, I'm going to say it's going to be going on a year and a half ago now, called The AI Classroom. And a lot of it, he is probably out of date now because he talked about a lot of the apps and things that came out right after ChatGPT was released. But this one graphic I feel like is really, really relevant, where we start out at level 1 and 2 of, can AI create this for me? And how can I work with AI to do this? And so, whenever you start a new task and you're thinking, if you're sitting down and you're opening up a Google Doc and you're thinking you're going to do this and start from scratch, open up AI and think, how can I work with AI to do this? Because maybe you and AI can get it done faster. And then the next level, though, which is where you guys are now, because you're thinking about your students, is how will my students learn to create with AI? Because they are going to be using these skills in their future. And so I love that you guys are here and you're thinking about your students and how they're going to need these skills to be successful. So, um, these are some more Wakelet resources, but again, I will update this slide deck to have the PDF versions in here for those of you who were in districts where Wakelet is blocked. So come back here. I'm gonna download those and put the PDFs on the other side of this slide, that last slide 52. And there's the link there to make a copy for your Canva account. So you'll have that as well. And there's my contact information. So I appreciate you guys being here. And I'll hang out for a few minutes if you've got any questions.
Thanks, Stacy.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, my question is, I know this is your session, but I realize that when I tried to um, go into Zoom, there were 3 sessions happening at the same time. Do you know how is it that we get to view the other sessions if we need to?
So they're all being recorded right now. So you'll be able to go back into that main room after these sessions are over and the recordings will be there. The sessions that were at 4 o'clock, the recordings are already there.
What
I think
that main room? Like, let me see, because I'm not sure where that is.
it's events.zoom.us. When you registered, it gave you a link to go in. It's probably open in your browser behind this screen.
Events. Hmm. I'm not seeing it. I'm not sure, but I can always look again.
If you click back on the link where you probably got an email after you registered, and that'll take you to events.zoom.us. And then whatever the link is for for their fall virtual conference. And then all of the recordings will be there and they'll be there for the next year.